We have some results from Super Tuesday. CBS News projects Donald Trump has won the Virginia GOP primary. There are 48 delegates at stake in that contest. After 3 days of negotiations between officials in Cairo, Gaza ceasefire discussions have stalled. The informal deadline for the ceasefire agreement, the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, is less than a week away. This comes as the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, which couldn't appear to get any worse, is getting worse, as food and water are all but disappearing. The U.S. military, in response, carried out its second airdrop of humanitarian aid into Gaza on Tuesday. War and how a U.S. president responds to conflict is something we've explored a lot on Prime Time, and now we are lucky to explore it with CBS News Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent and Face the Nation moderator, Margaret Brennan. Margaret, it's great to see you.
Great to be with you.
Okay, so what's going on with these? What's going on with two things? One, the negotiations over a pause, ceasefire, whatever, and also what's going on with the Biden administration's language about ceasefires and pauses for 6 weeks and so forth.
How much time do you have?
Yes, I know. It's a complicated world.
To start us off in the cynical world of politics, where our minds are all tonight on Super Tuesday, I would focus heavily on the rhetoric. It is just rhetoric in terms of the change of that language by the Biden administration. They're now using the term ceasefire. That typically means an end to hostilities. Right. That's not what they're talking about here. They're talking about a 6-week time duration. They're putting that end date on it because they were specifically referring back to the hostage talks. And within that deal that's on the table that Hamas has not fully rejected nor fully accepted yet, is a provision that would have this pause in fighting for 6 weeks, during which time aid would be surged in. One of the reasons why the United States emphasizes this is so important is not just to stop the killing of civilians, but to allow for the movement of aid through this 25-mile area of the Gaza Strip that is currently under siege by U.S. ally Israel, using U.S. paid-for weapons. That's what's so extraordinary about the United States then using an airdrop to drop food into this very territory. And it brings us back to the politics of it. This is something that President Biden's coming under a lot of heat for, particularly from progressive Democrats within his party who say you should use that term ceasefire and actually mean end to hostilities, not just for 6 weeks.
Right. So just to put a finer point on it, your point is that this change in language using the term ceasefire is really a response to his own party, and that nothing has effectively changed in the status of negotiations. And a sign of an actual effective change would be if Biden said, we're going to stop giving you those weapons that you're using.
It would be. I'd add one caveat to this, which is certainly the diplomats hope that a 6-week pause in fighting might provide a diplomatic opening to then negotiate an end to this conflict. But to be very clear here, the Israeli prime minister, as recently as 2 weeks ago on Face the Nation, said, no thanks, not interested. Hostage deal or not, I'm going into southern Gaza, into Rafah, which is what the United States is trying to also prevent or slow roll from happening. They want this pause, and they would like an end to the conflict, but they're not publicly calling for one. They're just saying, hit pause for 6 weeks.
As I understood it, Biden's relationship with Netanyahu was always to buy him, in other words, support him fully in public, to buy him inside leverage.
The bear hug.
Right. Was he mistaken?
It is not clear what the bear hug got him. What White House officials would say is that by going and publicly embracing Benjamin Netanyahu, the longest-serving Israeli prime minister, who is currently overseeing the most right-wing government in the history of Israel, a coalition that is key to being able to hold together in order for him to stay in power. He's prime minister, not a president. That he has to play politics on so many different levels that there's always a three-ring circus when you are negotiating with him. It deeply, deeply frustrates the White House. By going and bear hugging him so quickly after the horrific attacks of October the 7th, Joe Biden, they would argue, bought more time. Delayed the invasion 10 days. They did get more specificity, but they still never got the Israeli government, the Netanyahu government, to specify exactly what success would mean, what an end state would look like, what the day after would look like. And they have been pressing for it from day one. So they didn't get any of those things.
Very quickly, Ukraine. What's the sense of urgency in getting this money to Ukraine that members of all parties say is so important?
This is what's crazy making, John, because you talk to the people who run those committees, Republicans and Democrats in Congress, who say it's absolutely beyond emergency. They needed it yesterday. and they can't quite tell you what the time frame is. The last time frame I heard for a potential vote would be March 22nd or thereabouts, bringing everything together to be about a funding deadline for the government as well. But Ukraine, in terms of what they need, Zelensky says it needs to be approved in March. He needs it by April. They run out of ammunition. They're already rationing ammunition. They can't get it from other places, like in Europe. They can't produce it fast enough. The United States can. We used to be the arsenal of democracy. Republicans who are more conservative and traditional want to harken back to that. Speaker Johnson hasn't committed to putting that to a vote.
That was great. Thanks, Margaret. That was
Did I
fun.
make it?
You did. You did great. That's great. I want to do this all the time. I live in the wrong city. Thanks, Margaret. We have another race alert from Super Tuesday. CBS News projects Donald Trump will win the North Carolina GOP primary. CBS News also projects President Joe Biden will win the Democratic primary there. We'll have more results throughout the hour, and we'll check in with our Anthony Salvanto from the data desk in a few moments.